Lacey Sculls from VH1's Rock of Love. And this is Talk of Love, the new podcast. This isn't just reality, this is real life.
Hey everyone, it's Lacey motherfucking Sculls, and this is the Talk of Love podcast. So I'm really excited about today because today I'm doing things a little bit different. Now, you guys have been hearing me speak for the last few weeks about some of the spinoffs that I'm going to be doing from Talk of Love. And obviously, as you guys know, Talk of Love is where I interview reality stars. But today is episode 1 of Talk of Rock. Woo! And as the name implies, I'm going to be bringing on my rock star friends, musicians. And you guys already know how much I am passionate about music. So Talk of Rock will be my way to get my music fix out there. So I'm even more excited about my very first guest for Talk of Rock. And this is actually a person who's been a friend of mine for a pretty long time. And she is one of the founding members and one of the front women, badass front women, I should say, to the hard rock metal band Butcher Babies. Please welcome Heidi Shepherd.
Oh my God, thank you. Woo!
You can't hear the people who are watching.
Studio audience.
Yeah, just kidding.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Episode 1, I am honored. Thank you.
Yeah, you were kind of like de-virginizing me in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, for Talk of Rock.
I love that.
Yeah, I have to say it's really interesting because I've been doing Talk of Rock for like a year now. And of course, you know, the whole reason people are Talk of Love, rather. I've been doing Talk of Love for about a year now. The reason everybody comes to it because they all love Rock of Love and Bret Michaels and all that. And as I was getting to know a lot of the fans, I realized that there are a lot of Butcher Babies fans who actually watch the podcast.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
We have fans.
I know, you do. Yeah, you have lots of them.
No, this is awesome. I mean, of course, I was also a fan of the show. And so I think it goes hand in hand, you know?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. You know, and so just so everybody knows about my relationship with Heidi. So you and I think we met right around like 2012 or so. And we've been friends ever since. And actually my husband, before my husband and I ever even knew each other existed, he told me that he used to book you guys at the Cat Club when you were like first up and coming. And he's always like, I'm so proud of the Butcher Babies. And yeah, because like he's like, I knew them when, and now they're like touring all over.
Yeah,
and
he did book our very first show.
Yeah.
At the Cat Club, rest in peace. But he did book our first show there, and it was incredible. And at the time, the boys in the band were just going to be, you know, hired guns, and we were just going to give them the money. And they're like, no. This was awesome. Let's do this for real. And so that show has, I mean, obviously it was our first show, but also the show where we were kind of like, you know what, we're going to do this. And so that to me and to us is a very exciting show that we hold close to our hearts.
Oh,
so thanks, Johnny.
Yay! That's awesome. And you know, so in case anybody out there doesn't know the Butcher Babies, I want to talk about you guys from like how you guys are, as like what kind of members you have and what your whole shtick is, if you want to call it that, for lack of better words. Because you guys are very unique. And when I first learned about you, I think it was because I was actually seeing you live, and I'm like, oh my God, these girls and these guys are incredible. What's unique about you guys, for those of you who don't know, is you have 2 female front women. Yes. You're one of them. And the 2 of you were the founding members. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, we just decided, hey, because we were in a band together prior
and
to.
Carla is the other, Carla Harvey's the other person I'm speaking
We
of.
were in a band together prior to Butcher Babies. So it was a cover band, and there were 5 front girls. It was crazy.
What was it? It was Stilettos?
You don't want to say? I don't want anyone to get.
Okay, so
I'm all up.
Okay, so there was another band that you were a part of before, and it was a cover band.
It was a cover band, and there were 5 front women, and it was like rock and punk metal covers. And we covered Metallica, we covered the Misfits, we covered Black Flag, so many awesome bands. And one of the bands that we covered was Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics.
Nice.
Yes. And so when Carla and I quit that band, we decided, let's do something original and something exciting for us and write our own music, because we were passionate about it. And we were like, fuck it. We'll name ourselves after the leading lady in punk, rock, and metal, Wendy O. Williams. The song we loved, Butcher Babies. So Butcher Babies came about. And it's that we have our original guitar player, Henry Fleury. We just split recently with our longtime bass player, Jason Klein. He left the band to for a really, really good reason, to be a dad.
Yeah, that happens.
The best reason
that's
ever.
awesome. That's great.
And he gave us 10 amazing years. He missed out on a lot with his daughter growing up, and it was time. It was time for him to go be a dad, and he's the best at it. So he's happy. He's so supportive. Our drummer, Chase Brickenden, whom we've been friends with him since, the dawn of time. But he joined the band in 2016. And our bass player that we just hired, his name's Ricky Bonazza, and he is straight from Italy.
Nice.
He lives in Los Angeles, but he's the band is all great camaraderie. And the way that we kind of like to, I guess, talk about ourselves is the fact that we're just a bunch of best friends playing music together.
Love
we're,
that.
We're lucky, and we're lucky we still get to do it. It's been almost 12 years, and we're just excited. As excited now as we were then.
Yeah, you guys are killing it. I feel like you guys are all like such humble people and such nice people and night people.
Oh, thanks.
And people of the
I do
night.
stay up late.
Nice people. And I feel like you guys are like the epitome of like manifesting really good things. I mean, you guys are so talented anyway, and you guys have got such a great stage show, which I want to get into.
Thanks.
But I feel like because you guys are all so driven and such hard workers, and you guys have like a clear vision, I feel like you just manifested this amazing thing. Let's brag about you for a second. And Butcher Babies, talk about a lot. You've done some incredible tours. Talk about like, if you just go down the list of like the highlights of amazing people you've toured with.
We have definitely had some bangers over the years. In 2013, we got to tour with Marilyn Manson, and then we toured with the Mayhem Festival, which was the best. It was so amazing. We've toured with Megadeth. We've toured with In This Moment, Hollywood Undead.
Danzig, right?
Danzig, an amazing tour, an incredible tour. And Doyle was on that. And so every single night was a rager. It was crazy. That tour was amazing. I have never seen pits that big. It was so cool. We've done, so many great tours. It's hard to even think back and like list them all because there's so many.
And you guys have toured in lots of different countries too.
Yeah. We've toured around the world. One of my favorites was this Soundwave Festival in Australia. That was great. Knotfest in Japan, incredible. We haven't touched South America yet, but we think that that's coming in 22.
You guys would blow up there. They would love you.
I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's come to Brazil.
Yeah.
So we're going to come to Brazil at some point, I swear.
That's awesome. Well, let's go back to when you guys were a local band, because the whole thing that got everybody's attention was your stage show, specifically that you and Carla would be on stage full bare-breasted.
No, we weren't bare-breasted.
Breasts out. Well, with the
we had tape. We had tape.
But I will tell you, okay, that was what made me fall in love with you guys, because that was here's my take on all of that. And it's funny because when you guys were first starting out and you guys were still just like the Los Angeles, local regional band, I used to read the comments and it was very divided. People were either oh my God, those. You guys are amazing. Or it was always like, you're like, you're like making women look bad, or like women are objectified or whatever.
Gotta love that.
Here's my personal stance on that. I was always a huge fan of Wendy Williams, who you mentioned.
Exactly.
But also, I mean, Madonna.
That was her attire.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
Absolutely. And also, like, I love Madonna.
Yep.
And I love Jen from Jenna Torturers. And there's so many different female-fronted bands and artists that use their sexuality. And I always think that's a good thing for women, because you are taking control of your sexuality. And I feel like it's very empowering because you're owning it. You're going, this is what I'm putting out there. Does it make you uncomfortable? Well, I'm going to do it even more, And
also we didn't go up there and like, hey, we went up there and threw the fuck down. So
yeah, you guys were this was not a strip show.
No, not
this
at
was
all.
like two women that will beat your fucking ass if you like look at them the wrong way.
It was spitting
awesome.
blood and like it. For us, it was the shock value for us was just as fun for us as it was for the audience. And it wasn't necessarily about showing off my sexuality. It was more so about I was really tired of my entire life living in the acting or the modeling industry. And everyone says, this is how you're supposed to look. This is what you're supposed to wear. This is how you're supposed to sound. these are the rules to being a woman, right? And I'm not for. There's like a list,
right?
And we went up there and we were like, no, fuck that. These are our middle fingers to the fucking world, saying we're going to do what we want. We're going to do it when we want. I'm going to look how I want. I'm going to sound how I want. I'm going to do everything the way I want to do it. And especially in a genre that when we kind of came around, there weren't very many females.
Very male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And so when we came around, we kind of definitely shook shit up, and it did garner a lot of attention. And a lot of people didn't understand the Wendy O. Williams reference, with the band name and the attire and everything. And they just thought that we were going up there like,
right.
But that wasn't it at all. And if you've
kind of
ever
an homage
seen
to Wendy,
yeah.
Those of you who don't know Wendy, she was like one of the pioneers, women in punk rock, and she was like nudity, but she did crazy antics on stage.
Yeah.
She was like blowing shit up. I think I even read somewhere that she like fired a shotgun on stage. And then
I'm sure of it.
She had like a crazy.
She would saw like guitars in half, and she was just
She's
the
a
epitome.
badass.
Yeah, the epitome of I'm a free woman and I can do whatever the fuck I want, and you're gonna let me. And that to me was
so empowering.
Yes, and it's so inspiring, especially coming from the industries in which we were in. And I will never look back at those times and regret them, because it was a moment for me. It was a really powerful moment for me. And although I'm kind of a prude, to be honest, I really kind of am. And it was, to me, it felt empowering. And I am very grateful for those years. And we stopped it with the tape once we started touring nationally.
Yeah, I was asking you about that because eventually I feel like I didn't know if that was you guys' way of evolving. But honestly, from my perspective, I didn't think that it was anything that needed to evolve. I thought it was so... this is the worst word I can use, but it was ballsy.
I don't mind that. It was ballsy.
It was ballsy as fuck.
I got up and I played a show like that in Ogden, Utah in front of my whole family. It was, that to me was probably one of the ballsiest things I've ever done in my entire life. So.
I can actually relate to that. When I was singing in Lords of Acid in 2010, they have the song Pussy.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was performing with them in Florida, and my dad just happened to be in Florida for work. And he was like, oh, our schedules and our paths are intersecting. I'll come out and see you. So I just remember he I think it was at the Culture Room, Culture Club. Uh-huh. Yeah, in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. And I remember he was like at the back by the sound guy, and he was like kind of propped up so I could see like my dad's head like above the whole rest of like the sea of people. And I'm up there like, I want to see your pussy, show it to me. And I see my dad's head just like, I know, that's my daughter. So I totally, you have to divorce yourself from that when you're in that scenario. Like, sorry, mom, sorry, dad.
I just didn't look in their direction, but they have seen me play now. I mean, so many times that even if I went back to that, they'd be like,
I love it. They're supportive.
They're so
great.
supportive. Yeah. I mean, at first they didn't understand it, but once they understood what it was, they're like, oh, this is cool. In fact, there was a time we were playing the 48-hour festival here in Vegas, and was it 40? No. It was in Utah. It was probably just after that show. I used to, during a breakdown, look at a guy and I'd say, your dick smells like his asshole. Then we go into the breakdown. And afterwards, my dad comes on the bus. He's like, did you say your dick smells like his asshole? And I was like, yes, Dad, I did. So, it's I'm the oldest of 6 kids. And so we definitely, it evolved our relationship by a lot, because they had never seen me in that type of light before.
Would you say it's fair to describe your upbringing as conservative?
Oh, by all means. I grew up Mormon. I grew up super Mormon in Provo, Utah.
Right?
Yeah. I was, it's not a part of my life anymore. It wasn't even prior to moving to Los Angeles. But yeah, very conservative. My parents were very conservative. They're still pretty conservative. My mom has since left the church, and members of my family have left the church too. So they're very, very supportive, super open about it. My brothers get in the pit, they'll crowd surf.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's really fun. But what I mean about the whole, changing that attire, as we can say, was I started noticing that over the years, my role changed. I started becoming a little bit of a role model to kids, and I didn't realize it until I started reading a couple comments here and there, and started seeing young kids at shows. And I realized that even though it was empowering for me, I wanted to live my life in a little bit of a different way. I started living my life in a much more positive manner as soon as I realized that kids started to look up to me. There weren't very many females in rock, many in rock, but not in extreme metal like we were doing. And so it just kind of like changed something in my head where I wanted these kids to be able to look up to me on all aspects,
That makes sense.
And like I said, I'm kind of a prude, and I wanted to just kind of give them a little bit something else to look into, like the music. And, we do change up our image all the time. But as empowered as I felt with that, to be like a fuck you to the industry, I felt like I needed to be a different role model at that time.
That makes sense, because it needs to be accessible to young people. And
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. And as we all know, when you're growing up and you love a certain artist, you love everything about them, including how they dress and what they look like. And so people are going to want to copy your clothing style and stuff like that. And so it totally makes sense. And doing something like that, as daring as that was, it does take a certain personality type to be able to get away with that. Because I would imagine you're going to get a little bit of, as much as you're going to get people going like, oh my God, you're a badass, you're also, I would imagine, got a little bit of a pushback.
Oh, so, I still do.
Yeah.
It's been over 10 years since we stopped dressing that way, but I still get that all the time. All the time. Anytime our names are in the press, anything, there's always like, toots.
Yeah, of course.
Boobs. And I'm just used to it. And it's not something, like I said, that I'm ashamed of. I
shouldn't be.
No. And we went from, playing the Cat Club, our very first show, to playing, main stage at the biggest festivals in the world. So I'm not ashamed of where I came from, how I grew up, in my career in front of people. When we first started this, I was in my very early 20s, still finding myself. I got married at a very young age. I just left the church, and I was just figuring myself out, and everyone got to see that. And I think now I'm 36 years old, and I'm still figuring it out. So you're going to be able to see more. But it's kind of a, like an evolution of a person.
That absolutely makes sense. That makes sense. When I was doing music back when I first started doing bands in Dallas, Texas, one thing that used to annoy the shit out of me, but now as I'm older, I'm like, I kind of get it now. When I was in the band Nocturne, I noticed that a lot of the local booking agents for like the live music venues and stuff, they didn't really know what to do with my band, because we were at the time like very much a goth band, and we were pretty much the only one in Dallas, Texas. So but we had a good little following. So they wanted to book us, but they just never knew who to book us with. And so one thing that would always just kind of be the default of like, let's do like a Chicks Who Rock night or a female fronted band night.
Yeah.
And it started to get really annoying to me, not because I didn't support these other female fronted bands and artists, but more so because I didn't want to be looked at as like a girl in rock. I wanted to be just looked at as a musician in rock. I didn't want that. I didn't like the separation. But now, all these years later, I actually think it's kind of a good thing to focus on that kind of stuff, because, as you mentioned, there have always been a lot of, awesome rock female singers and musicians, but in metal, it's kind of a different story. And one other point I want to make is you got to love Instagram. So as soon as you if you look up one thing like, kittens chasing bubbles, and Instagram is like, I'll show you 500 videos of kittens chasing bubbles.
And I'm like,
yeah, I know. like all of them. But I started looking, I came across a young girl that looked like probably late teens, early 20s, who was like shredding on the guitar.
Yeah.
And then because I started following her, I started getting just like an avalanche of like girls rocking out on the drum kit, girls rocking out on bass, girls rocking out on vocals. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like so many of them, but we don't know why are these girls not in the bands? And you look at all the existing bands, and the majority of them are all men, or bands that just only have men in them. Alice Cooper would be an exception. He recently brought in our friend, recently, a while ago, Nita Strauss, who's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah.
But do you think about gender a lot in I hate the generic question of like, what's it like to be a woman in rock and metal?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Is that something that is on your mind often? And do you struggle with that, like with like sexism, that kind of thing, or do you find it's pretty supportive? And how can we also get more of these girls in the band? Like get these guys to like, if they need a new guitar player, hire that chick. Like don't hire another dude. Like do something different.
I remember having that conversation with the boys in 9 Electric, and they hired a female bass player after that.
Yeah,
and to be honest, I don't think about it as much as it's pushed onto me, but it is something that kind of is always in the back of my mind, because it's always who's your favorite female singer, and everyone links us in the same category as like Hailstorm and stuff like that. And to me,
totally different.
We're very, very different. Now, when I first started, I hated the fact that people lumped all of us females together. But now I actually find it a compliment, because we started a movement. Not me and Carla, but us girls back in the day.
Women in metal.
We started a movement.
100%.
Now.
Started with Kitty, I would say, is one of the first ones, that, like as far as the metal goes.
Yeah.
And then do you remember Drain STH?
Yes, I love them.
Yeah, they were great too.
And I mean, there's so many great bands, but I wasn't like keen to them. I didn't know about them. There were very few. And I didn't know about many of them growing up. And, there's some like Eths from France, and there's a couple other bands that have been around for a long time with female screamers, but I didn't know any of them. I knew Arch Enemy,
Arch Enemy,
and I knew Kitty. And to me, I feel like over the past 10 years, we have seen a movement. All of us chicks kind of just decided we're going to do this. And if you notice, we're pretty powerful in it now. There's a lot of girls, and there's a lot of talented girls out there kicking ass and really showing that, hey, not only do we belong in this genre, because I can tell you how many times people said women don't belong in metal.
Yeah.
People still probably say that, but they just sound archaic.
And your response is like, yeah, here's my tits. Fuck you. Suck on that.
I'm all, look at my knee. But now we came in, we shook shit up, and there's a whole fucking army of us now. And we've created this girls club, and we all support each other.
I love that.
And the way that I've looked at it for the longest time is that when one of us wins, we all win.
Yes.
Because, when one girl, she gets the #1 single on rock radio, that's a big fucking deal, because it's very rare. It's very rare. It's a big deal for women in rock and metal. It's a big deal. And all of us, we all congratulate each other on our successes. And I think that is really important, just as much as my personal life being a role model. It is super important for the younger generation, younger girls hoping to get into this genre, to also see that us women support each other.
Yes.
And us women, we bond together and we lift each other up. And it's really the most important thing that we could show the younger generation.
I 100% love that. I 100% agree with you as well. And I've seen it. Like, you don't really hear about drama with all of these women, who are in metal. And it makes me really happy to see, because, as you just said, I've definitely in the last 15 years, I've definitely seen an uptick in these women. And as I said, what I see on Instagram too, of girls shredding on guitars and rocking out and jumps, like that's so fucking cool, And one thing I also want to ask you is back to your upbringing. At what point when you were growing up, did you realize that you were different, in that you weren't just going to be like a typical Mormon housewife or whatever? Like, what was it? Just like, was it the music that you listened to that made you go, I want to do things differently, or what was the thing?
I don't know exactly what it was, but I was always different.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember saying fuck because I was a cheerleader, because I was a gymnast. The cheerleaders did not like me.
I was exactly the same story.
They did not like me.
Cheerleader.
I was definitely a bad apple for them. I said fuck one time at a practice, and one of the girls was like, "Ooh, I'm so cool. I can say the F word." I'm like,
That's just how I talk.
It's just, and it wasn't how I talked back in the day, because it was so, people were just like, you're not.
Oh, wow.
You
it was
know,
shocking to them. It was offensive to them.
And it was super offensive to them. And I was just never one of like the
conformists.
No, it just wasn't a part of me. And so I took out a lot of my anger on sports, and I turned a lot of my anger into, running miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles.
Yeah, you were like jogging, running queen. I remember you used to run with like a hoodie on. Like,
yes, I still do. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, it's just like the maximum sweat I can get.
Yeah,
but I just poured my whole life into sports. But on the inside, I remember I would tell my parents sometimes I was going running, which I was, but I ran to the skate park and I would hang out with my friends there. And I had this group of friends. They had this heavy metal band, and it was like kind of wrong for me to hang out with them because one of the guys, his mom was against my mom in politics. Like they're two politicians.
Oh.
So we were like, yeah, let's hang out. And they listened to all sorts of metal. And it was just, that was my escape from this reality. And back then, skate parks, it was all metal. Now I don't even know what they listen to, like trap or shit. I don't know. I love trap too, whatever. But I remember one time bringing home, I borrowed a Korn CD and I brought it home and I would listen to it. And when I was pissed off at my parents or pissed off at the world, whatever, I would sit in my closet and listen to it. And I had this notebook and I would just pick out lyrics and scribble them, lyrics that spoke to me, and I would scribble them all over. Well, my mom found everything. She broke the CD, teared up everything, and it was kind of along that time that I realized this is the music that speaks to my soul. I grew up listening to what my parents let me listen to or whatever was on the radio. And in Utah, it's just top 40, maybe some rock here and there, classic rock. But I wasn't really allowed to listen to the heavy shit. And so as soon as I started growing up and coming into my own, it was like Slipknot, Korn, Static X, all the new metal movement, Limp Bizkit.
Loved all of that.
Yeah. And now when I get to play with those bands, I'm like,
that's amazing. Like, that's so cool.
It's always, I am like this, and those are the bands that really got me through it. So I always knew I was just different than the normal kids in Utah. But what happened is when I was in college, I met a dude and I got married at a very, very young age. Too young to get married for sure. But after that marriage ended, which only lasted a year, but after that ended, I kind of decided that none of that was for me. Utah wasn't for me. The religion wasn't for me. I had gotten married in the temple. I was just like, none of this is for me. And I was working at a radio station and I got a job offer in Los Angeles.
Nice.
For a radio station in Los Angeles. And so I took it and my whole entire life changed. And I got to go to all the rock shows I wanted to go to.
That's so cool. That's so awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, even working at the radio station, I was so lucky to see so many amazing bands. And, I remember getting in the pit for AFI and like watching My Chemical Romance from like real close and stuff. And it was an amazing time in my life, but a time that I was really learning a lot about myself. As you can see, when Butcher Baby started, I was still doing that, but I was still kind of deciding like, am I going to be whorish? I'm in my early 20s. Why not?
That's the time to do it, right?
No, I wasn't really whorish, but I'm saying,
but I mean,
just
like putting out like that, like
my language, like looking back at my Facebook memories, and I look back and I'm like, wow. Some of even the statuses that I would put on the band page was like, the sluttiest band, blah, 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 and like to me, slutty was just kind of like a term of endearment.
Like an attitude, yeah.
And if you remember in the early 2000s, it was all about shocking. And
yes.
I'm the shockingest
shocker of the...
Yeah. I'm all the shocks put together.
Yeah.
So I look back and I read some of that and
But I think that's still kind of part of it, though. You know, and I mean, everybody. I actually had this conversation with one of my guests on Talk of Love about how, like, Howard Stern, for instance, you know, or like New York from Flavor of Love. If you're one of those shocking personalities, especially right out the gate, you can only do that for so long, and then eventually you're either going to run out of shocking stuff, or you're going to have to start going like doing some illegal shit, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like,
look at all these YouTube kids. They're all like spray painting shit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So at some point, and I think that happens with the best of us. Like, you know, in your 20s, I think that's like learning about who you are as an artist and exploring and growing and trying out different things. Yeah. And then by the time you get, you know, into your 30s and stuff, then we all mellow out. I think that's like part of the journey, but you can still fucking kick ass. You're just doing it in a more evolved way and a more relatable way to people who are of like our age group. I mean,
I'm not slow dancing on stage.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Not two-stepping or anything like that.
I mean, maybe if there's a nice little tune, but typically it's like lots of thrashing and jumping. And I mean, I still treat my knees like they're in their 20s.
Yeah.
So these puppies are going to last me a while.
There you go. So of all the tours that you guys have done, I'm sure there has been like crazy moments, either like just something insane that has happened or something intense that has happened or stressful or whatever. Can you share any of those stories?
Oh, yeah. Insane wise, I would say probably our very first tour, we almost went to prison.
Oh, shit.
Our very first tour around the States, we used a converted airport shuttle with some bunks built in it. That thing's transmission did not work at all. I mean, we were still like clucking shit together as we were leaving town. It was a 2-month tour in the middle of the summer. Finally, the tranny went out and we had no other option. It was Labor Day weekend. So all like the SUVs were taken. Everything was taken except for a Corvette, which I mean, we could have used.
Right?
Just put the
pile in.
Yeah.
Or hook up the U-Haul to the Corvette. That'd be a look.
I mean, hey. Well, what we did instead is we rented out a U-Haul truck, or a Penske it was. But we rented one out and we stuck everything in the back and we slept in that fucker.
Nice. You do what you got to make it happen.
Absolutely. Well, at one point, we text the boys in the front and we say, hey, we got to pee. So we just pull over and Carla and I are totally fine with, you know, just pissing on the side of the road. And so we're just out there, do our thing, jump back in. They close the door and we're on our merry way to Huntsville, Alabama. And all of a sudden we hear, boop, boop. We're getting pulled over. And our bass player is driving at the time and he looks over at Henry and he's like, the guy, you know, tells him to roll the window down. He's like, what you got in the back? He's like, oh, furniture.
Some women. Don't like that.
Yeah. And so he's like, well, I need to see what's in the back of the car. First of all, he didn't have a warrant, so he couldn't have done that. But anyway, what had happened was there was a kidnapping where 2 girls had been kidnapped and they thought someone drove by as we were jumping back in the truck and they thought we were these kids that had been kidnapped. So they open up the back of the truck. All these cop cars just go, they think they've made the bust of the century for them, right? And this is during Hurricane Sandy and it's starting to get windy and they're asking us who we are. They pull Carla and I aside and they're like, are you guys okay? Is this, you know, what's going on here? We're like, we're a band. We just broke down and this, you know, we're just idiots and got a box truck. He didn't believe us. We had to like pull up our Facebook page and be like, see, this is us. This is our broken vehicle. And there was nothing else. Well, they all started laughing about it eventually, but it was really dangerous. All of a sudden it starts to hail and storm and Sandy hit. And they're like, you know what? Get yourself a vehicle and get the fuck out of here. So that was wild.
Wow, that's insane.
But you know, we're very lucky in the sense we've never had anything like a major accident. We did have a bus one time where the brakes went out and we were coasting downhill. We were in like Albuquerque and that was scary as fuck. I'm
Sounds like it.
Today I die, I guess.
Oh, jeez.
But
how'd you guys recover from that?
Oh, well, it was almost like it. Well, we were still going and there was traffic in front of us. We're us and a bunch of people are dying today. And then all of a sudden traffic just open. It was almost like part the Red Sea. And the bus finally leveled out and everything was fine. But it was, I don't know who didn't poop their pants that day.
Yeah. Tour bus things are fucking scary, man.
Yeah.
Those things are like, they are meant to go 60 miles per hour and that is it. They're not meant to stop quick. They're not meant. I remember when, I can't remember who I was touring with, but I was touring with a Mushroom Head and Dope. And we were driving like super late at night down the highway and it was like middle of nowhere, 2:00 in the morning or something. And so there was like nobody on the road and it's super dark. And I was actually like chilling up front with the bus driver because I just like to do that. And I like to like see where we're going,
sometimes it's great.
Yeah, because if you're in the back, you can't see shit.
Yeah.
So I like seeing the road and the view and hanging with the bus driver. So we're driving and all of a sudden on the highway on the opposite side so there was like a giant, maybe like 20-foot grass median.
Yeah.
And we were like literally in the middle of nowhere. And so there's cars going this way on the highway towards us. And one car on the other side coming towards us clipped another car that was an SUV. The SUV flipped and started rolling down the highway. And we're like driving towards this and we're thinking it's going to stay over there. So, we're still going the same speed. But all of a sudden another car hits and then swerves and does a U-turn and ends up on our side of the highway, like cross the grassy median. And as soon as they started coming over here, like crossing in front of us, we were about to T-bone them. So the bus driver slams on the brake. Everything in the entire bus ends up like in the front of the bus. It was so loud, I remember. And he was just like stood on the brakes. And I think we just like, boop, like we were so stopped by the time we collided with the other car that we just barely got him. But it was like, the whole thing kind of happened in slow motion. I was like, oh shit. It was like 5
weird
different
how that happens. It's all,
what's
going on?
The SUV.
Yeah.
Now they're here.
Well, your guy did a great job slamming on those brakes.
Dude, it was, but like everything in the entire bus was out of the cabinets and out of the bunks and like all in a giant pile in the front of the damn bus.
And that's why you sleep feet forward in a bus.
Right. So you don't end up with like...
you don't end up breaking your neck. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so the tour bus stories and road stories, I feel like everybody's got like at least 5 of them. They're always crazy.
I mean, when you ask me, I'm like...
yeah, which one?
Well, that one sucked.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so we only have a few minutes left, but just because I'm like such a fangirl about this stuff, who is like one of your all-time favorite people that was one of your idols that was just like super fucking cool that you got to meet or tour with or work with?
Yeah, I mean, there's been several. Dave Mustaine was so incredibly nice to us. Yeah, he came in and he brought us a couple bottles of wine and a bottle of vodka and gave us a big signed tour poster. And he was like, welcome to the tour. We're so glad you're here. And I don't recall a headliner ever doing that before. And so it was really, really fucking cool.
Very welcoming.
Yeah, it kind of gave me a little bit of an insight like, oh, when I headline, I need to do these things.
Oh, there you go.
And which we have started doing, or like at the end of the tour, we'll get, people presents and bands gifts and stuff. But Maria Brink's an incredibly sweet person.
In this moment.
Yeah, she's incredible. I would say all the girls are pretty awesome. We're very lucky to have this crew of ladies that we have. Yeah,
this was some good ones.
Danzig was awesome.
Oh yeah?
He was so cool. So we used to watch his show every single night. Every night. And then one night we missed and he asked, where are the girls?
Oh, that's so cute.
Where are the babies?
Oh, I love that.
And so he just treated us so great. And he's come to see us play when we're in LA. And he's just, all around an amazing
That's kind
guy.
of feels so cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to walk on stage at the Whiskey one time and like Glenn walks up and I'm all, oh shit.
Quick, Danzig. That's he's like, girl, go kill him. That's so awesome.
Danny Filth is incredible. He's hilarious. One of the funniest people I've ever met. I mean, we've been lucky to have all incredible tours, minus one. One was a little bit, it was that first one. It was just hard. It was 2 months in the middle of summer and half of it in a box truck. But and the headliner was a shithead. But
it's like paying the dues. That's kind of part of it,
Yeah. So. But I mean, every other tour has been amazing.
It's incredible how like nice a lot of these metal guys are.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, their persona is terrifying, you know, if you didn't know any better. And you meet them and they're just like the sweetest, nicest guys. And like, and even this isn't technically a metal band, but industrial. My personal all-time favorite band is, I talk about them all the time, I know, but I have to tell her, Nine Inch Nails is my all-time favorite. And Trent Reznor I've met a number of times, and he is the fucking nicest guy ever. And I've always been grateful for my positive experiences with him. So it's interesting how much these guys that look like they might, you know, be like, you know, psychologically damaged or something, they're super fucking chill. They're not intimidating for the most part.
Yeah, I would say definitely for the most part. It's intimidating as a younger artist to be like, oh, are they going to like me?
Of course.
You know, and then they end up just being so sweet. They understand, you know, and they've been where we've been. They've been, you know, the newer band or one of five, or, you know, they've grinded their teeth for this. And so they understand exactly what we're going through. And I remember even on the Megadeth tour, looking side stage and Dave Mustaine was watching us and he was just like grooving along, and he came in the next day and he's like, you guys can have 5 more minutes to your set.
That's so nice. You know? That's a big deal, actually.
Deal.
Yeah, that's usually they're like when you're first starting out, sound guys will just like yank the cord, like cut you like mid-song.
Yeah. They were like, you just have a good time.
That's so nice.
Play a couple extra songs. And that was a stacked lineup. It was Suicidal Tendencies, Amon Amarth, Metal Church, and of course Megadeth and us. And it was just like
so awesome. You know, cool. I was hosting a live from NAMM web show for Dean Guitars for a couple of years. And this is years and years ago. And they basically had me staying at the Dean Guitars booth and just interviewing whoever was walking by, or sometimes they'd bring people over for me to interview. And they told me that they were going to have me interview Dave Mustaine. I was like, oh shit. And so, and it's, what's really funny too is as you guys know, I have very high energy. I talk 1,000 miles per hour. And Dave Mustaine is totally opposite of that. So I'm like, oh my God, hi, da, 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 da. Like, you know, caffeine buzz and everything. And he's like, hi. Nice to meet you. And I'm like, I got to even this out a little. But
he is very even keel.
Yeah. And so I chatted with him for a couple of minutes for the interview on camera. And at the end of it, he's like, you did a really good job. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, you're way better than last year's girl. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. She kept trying to say pianist, and instead she kept saying pedist. And I didn't like that. And I was like, well, tand you, Dave Mustaine. I really appreciate it.
Well, to be fair, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, yeah, he's
cool.
He's a great guy. We've toured with a band called Amaranth. They're based out of Sweden, but worldwide. Oh my God. Some of the best times I have had with that band. They have 3 singers. They have a male clean vocalist, a female clean vocalist, and a male screamer.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
It is like a dance party USA with them, but heavy metal style. It's so fun, but also they rage so hard. And we got along immediately. I mean, it was just like, you like wine? I like wine. Let's fucking do this.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know?
I love that.
I mean, every time we go to Sweden, they come see us. If they pass through, we try to go see them. And it's like, you know, having those bonds with these bands is a lot. It definitely keeps this fresh for us, for sure. Because when you're on the road, there are days where I'm like, I don't want to be a rock star today.
Yeah, it's
you
a
know,
lot.
and you just
how do you get through that when you're at that place? Just overwhelmed. Or like, I would imagine you probably get exhausted a lot of times. And
I mean,
affects your mental.
It's bound
state.
to happen, but honestly, it's the energy of the crowd. The second you step on stage and you feel that energy back at you, it's like, whoop.
Yeah.
And
it's like plugging in the dying cell phone.
Mama, here I am. And
like, and batteries.
Yeah, exactly.
And charger.
Yeah. And it's because when you get on stage and you know this and you're standing there and you're screaming at somebody and they're screaming back at you and you feel that vessel of energy between you just going, it's a feeling unlike anything other. So, you know, the camaraderie with the other bands, the fun times you have on the back end, and that moment on stage, it makes the, you know, oh, I didn't get good sleep last night because we almost crashed into almost T-boned, you know, or something, you know, or the you're in somewhere that speaks a different language and sometimes you don't have this right currency and you can't get your tea or whatever the case may be, it makes those days easy.
Absolutely.
So
I love it. So where can people who are just learning out, who don't know you yet, as I said, there's a lot of people who watch this podcast that are all about butcher babies. But for those that are curious, what is the best place to go to for their first time butcher babies experience?
Oh, any of our music videos or Spotify.
Yeah, you guys are all you've got a lot of stuff on YouTube. You're active on social media. And if you just type in butcher babies, you're easy to find.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy to spell. But yeah, I mean, we're just immerse yourself in the music, immerse yourself in the visuals. We all of our music videos we write. And it's all our creative powers combined.
My last visual experience in addition to the awesome music experience.
And the last music video that we released, it's called Yorktown. We actually made that with my family. So my whole family's in the video. We made it
awesome.
They have a studio in Utah that we filmed it at, did all the set design. They have all the equipment and everything. And so it was really a family production. And so it's cute, it's fun, quirky, kind of like we are.
I love it. I love it.
We can't take ourselves too seriously.
You can't.
We used to play a nipple tape, but I can't take myself seriously.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta have fun with it. So what's in store for you guys in the upcoming year, 2021, 2022?
So we have a fall tour that we have put together. It's an insane, awesome lineup that I'm so excited. I can't say what it is yet because we're just waiting on a couple of visas to go through, if you will. Just waiting on some confirmation of some things, but it's a lineup that our fan base has been begging for.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
So I'm very excited about it too. I know it'll just be so much fun and looking forward just to getting back to real life. I think every single band member that has toured for a living can say that this past year and a half has been hell on earth.
Yeah, it's been tough for fans who missing live shows, but for the musicians themselves, your income is taken away. And also just that's what you do.
Oh my God. Well,
what do you do with yourself when...
Yeah, I mean, I live for that moment on stage that I get to see these faces screaming at me. That's what I live for. So I can't wait to get back out. And I know that the fans are dying to get to live music too. I mean, we were one of the last to come back. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's happening.
Yay! I'm so excited for you. And you're also doing a festival in Kentucky coming up in September. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have one in Kentucky, in Louisville called Louder Than Life. We are on 9 Inch Nails Day.
Yay!
So maybe I'll get to meet Trent. Probably not, but then we're also doing Aftershock in Sacramento, California. We're doing Metal in the Mountains in West Virginia. We have a couple more that are to be announced, but we're so excited.
That's amazing.
I've been dreaming of this day.
That's great.
I can imagine stepping on stage. It's just going to be
yeah, bittersweet. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, this last year was insane. Well, Heidi, I really, really appreciate you for coming by. I'm such a big fan of you and Carla and the guys.
And I'm a fan of you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so happy we got to connect.
Me too. I know it's awesome that that you're living here now, and it seems like all the California people are coming into Las Vegas.
Well, the rock industry moved here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's pretty much here. So we're just like, I guess we follow the yellow brick road.
Yeah, it's. I love Las Vegas so much. So it's nice to have see old faces and old friends and have that community back. But back to you guys. I mean, you guys are seriously one of the hardest working bands that I know, and you guys are full-blown female represent. You guys are just such badasses, and I love you so much, and I just am super, super happy for all of you.
Oh, thank you. I love to hear that. That means the world to me, so thank you. And we love you too.
Oh, thank you. You're so welcome. That was so much fun. I really hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I had a blast with that. I definitely plan on doing way more Talk of Rock episodes in the future where I will be bringing on all of your favorite artists, musicians, and bands. So I can't wait to do this again. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to a musician and artist who actually has sponsored this episode of the podcast episode today, and he'll be sponsoring the next 3 episodes as well. He is a musician named Nick Ryan. He is incredible. He's a performer. He plays many instruments, and He actually just put out a new single just last week, and he also has a new music video. And I would describe him as like alternative rock / pop. If you like bands like Matchbox 20 and Tori Amos, Lenny Kravitz, Alanis Morissette, Garbage, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Liz Phair, that's definitely Nick Ryan's style. So if you dig that, you will definitely appreciate his music and what he does. He is also releasing an album this fall called Nemesis. And he has all kinds of social media, Instagram, YouTube, all kinds of stuff. So what I'm going to do so that you guys can check that out is I'm going to put that in the description box below this video. So if you're on YouTube, just click that down facing arrow and you'll be able to see all the links to Nick Ryan. Definitely go check out his music. It's fucking awesome. Thank you guys so much to everybody else who has been watching, who has been subscribing, liking. I really appreciate you guys so much. And of course, a huge, huge shout out to the contributors. You guys are truly the ones who make this podcast happen. If you are interested in becoming a contributor and getting some rewards, or maybe you want to sign up to get some reaction videos where you'll be watching me react to Rock of Love, Flavor of Love, and Charm School of Sharon Osbourne, all you got to do is go to the website, talkoflove.net. Once you're there, you can click on either contribute or you can click on reaction videos. We also have shirts on there that you can check out, all kinds of good stuff. So definitely be sure to check that out. Thank you guys again very, very much. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. I'll see you next week. And until then, don't threaten me with a good time. Bye.